Now, there's a certain character I refuse to talk about in my breakdowns. A lot of people have asked me to do theories, predictions, and breakdowns of my thoughts on this particular character. I may have mentioned him once, twice, maybe 3 times throughout Season 4, but I felt there was no need, not yet at least. Additionally, I have recently begun making fun of the name in the comments section by asking, "Who's that?" Never heard of him. I'm not going to mislead you. Until there's official confirmation or something new that genuinely makes us ask the question and wonder, could it actually be time? I won't dive into it. I don't pretend to have a crystal ball. There have been times when I've been right and times when I've been wrong. But what I always say is that we can look at things from a logical standpoint, where we are with storylines and character plot points. I mention history a lot because history doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme. That's why I referenced Rock's pregnancy before episode 401. That prediction was based on Power's history. Or when Marvin came to save Amber, there were clues. So, is this another clue? Is it really time to finally talk about the character many of you want me to discuss? Snaps and Pop introduce Kanan to Breeze in the trailer for episode 10. That scene is right at the end and feels like an after-credits moment, if you get what I mean. Toward the end, we'll go through that specific scene, we'll examine the arguments for and against it, and whether it could be a curveball from Power, because they've pulled quite a few. It would be very Raising Kanan-like for them to throw us a curveball. There is a lot to go through, such as Kanan's partnership with Unique, Rock's assumption of responsibility, an all-out assault between Unique's crew and the Thomases, and a lot more. As always, I have a few teaser scenes that match up with episode 10. We'll go through those too. But let's start with the episode title and synopsis. The title of episode 10 is Give Me the Weight. The synopsis reads, a devastated Kanan furiously searches for answers and revenge. Rock attempts to stave off the collapse of her operation as she prepares for a possible war with Unique. The trailer begins with Snaps, Pop, and Kanan. We hear Snaps telling Kanan, bringing him together with Unique is an ideal arrangement for all parties involved. This is one of the many things Rock would have been worried about when she saw Kanan coming out of Unique's tailor shop. What was Kanan doing there? Snaps and Pop are serious players in the game. For weeks now, I've been saying they're the ones to watch. They're controlling the chessboard. The warning signs were there from day one. In episode 402, Rock brought this up. They say they're retired, but when are you ever really retired from the game? They continue to play, but on their terms. They're operating from the comfort of their restaurant. They're not involved in street wars, battles for territory, or retaliation hits. They sit at the top of the food chain, watching the smaller players fight over corners. And when chaos strikes, because chaos brings opportunity, they swoop in. That's what they've been doing for the past season or two. They've waited patiently for things to crumble, then swooped in. Back in Season 4 of Ghost, I said the same about Tariq and Brayden's war with the Tajadas. If Tariq just waited, they would self-destruct. The opportunity would come. Snaps and Pop have dropped bodies. Crystal got popped, pun intended. But they wait for the right moment. Furthermore, the time to exert pressure is now. They've started mentoring Kanan. They see his potential. They know he's rising and they want to control him. That's why they pinned Famous's death on Rock, and probably Crystal's too. Now it's time to bring Unique and Kanan together. Clues were dropped back in episode 409. Unique respects the way Kanan moves. He wasn't afraid to walk into the lion's den and speak his mind. Unique admired it when Kanan said, "Yeah, I took Ronnie out. He needed to be checked, and I'd do it again." Unique sees that Kanan's grown and wants to be his own man. From a story perspective, it makes sense. Unique needs product, and Snaps and Pop could provide it through their connections, possibly making peace between Phil Russo and Stefano, and even Rock. Let's move on to the conflict between Rock and Unique. Both of us have relatives. If mine's fair game, so is yours. We know Rock and Lou enter the Dragon's Lair. Part of the conversation includes Rock warning Unique that if her family is fair game, so is his. We also see Panessa leaving a building, possibly a hospital. She mentioned her mum's health issues, and Unique said his guys would help with appointments. However, she might go back to Queens. Lou is watching Panessa closely, and he's going to play a big role in episode 10. He's made peace with himself and wants to work for Rock. He's ready to go to war for the Thomases. The conflict stems from Kanan and Rock coming out of Unique's shop. Unique wants to break Rock piece by piece. The ultimate blow comes from losing Kanan, the only person she truly loves. But if Kanan's fair game, then so is Panessa. That's why Unique put her in Manhattan, far from Queens. Because things are about to escalate, Unique isn't going to take Rock's threat lightly. He's going to strike back. Teaming up with Kanan will hurt her, but he's also going to target her operation again. He's already done this throughout Season 4, taking Andre, Richard, Sonny, and a transportation business. With Phil Russo and Akbar's help, he seized control of the corners in Queens. After backing off briefly on Phil's orders, Unique got rid of David in episode 409 using E-Tone. The final blow might be to burn down Rock's remaining restaurants, form an alliance with Kanan, and go after the Thomases. They need to strike first and fast. Roxy is right. Unique is coming, and he's coming hard. Does Rock have enough muscle to stop him? Akbar backs Unique. Can Rock surprise him before he strikes? He'll definitely be cautious. Who's to say he hasn't already made peace with Snaps and Pop? If that deal went through in episode 10, after Unique's talk with Snaps in episode 408, Rock won't just be facing Unique, she'll be up against the Italians, Snaps and Pop. The war might be closing in from every direction. Marvin is also under fire. A red car in the teaser gets riddled with bullets, likely Marvin's. Unique's crew is loaded. We see this in the trailer. I wouldn't be surprised if Ellie Tyler and his cousins join in. Ellie is pursuing Londell's retribution. That's another angle we can't ignore. Someone has to pay for the hit in Howard Beach. Ellie Tyler jumped on that early, so him and his cousins might be involved in Marvin's attack. Back to Kanan. We see a teaser scene of him with his hands on his head. This could be him finding out about Crystal's death. I expect Jukebox to break the news, and once she does, Kanan will likely blame Rock, maybe yelling at Duke and throwing things. We also see Rock at a diner. She might be meeting with Kanan again after spotting him outside Unique's shop. Her face tells a story of a woman who believes she's lost her son, but she won't give up. Those words don't exist in Rock's vocabulary. With Kanan, anger can lead to irrational decisions. I'm always protecting you, but not anymore. I'm doing what I should have done tonight. At this point, many people are manipulating Kanan, and for once, Rock isn't the only one. But history matters. Based on what she's done before, Kanan thinks it's repeating. He'll think Rock is behind everything: Fame's death, OC's death, and Crystal's. And that's due to Snaps and Pop's influence. The relationship between Rock and Kanan is looking bleak. Who's to blame? Probably both. It started with Rock's lies and manipulation, but Kanan's made a lot of bad decisions too. He is now being shaped by Snaps, Pop, and Unique. If Rock wants to salvage their relationship, she's got serious work ahead. Coming back to the scene where Kanan says, "You're either with me or against me," I think that's directed at Duke after hearing about Crystal's death. It makes sense that he'd immediately blame Rock, especially after what he heard at the end of episode 409. Leaving Crystal's body to be found was no accident. It was a setup. They want Kanan to believe Rock did it, but I don't think Duke believes that. She probably suspects he's being manipulated by Snaps and Pop. The start and tear in the break of their relationship makes sense for where Kanan seems to be heading at this moment in time. Heading down the direction of Snaps, Pop, and Unique. It would definitely cause a lot of tension between him and Duke, because you can see Duke siding with Rock. With that being said, it now brings us to this scene. We believe there's an opportunity for a successful joint venture. Earlier on, I mentioned that it gives me the feel of an after-end credit scene, the way they've placed it in the trailer for episode 10. Or maybe it's literally the final scene of episode 10. Snap says he thinks there is a chance for a successful venture as Kanan shakes hands with the mystery character, whom they haven't shown on purpose, while Kanan watches. As I've said before, Raising Kanan is very good at throwing curveballs, and we do need to keep this in mind when we're talking about this scene. That's why I have to be real and say there is a chance it may not be Breeze. We have to look at what they did with this specific teaser that they left on social media on purpose. And honestly, it would not surprise me one bit. They know what they're doing, especially with Raising Kanan. These trailers and teasers are very easy to manipulate. Look at what they've done before. Look at what they're doing now. They're making us ask the question. Even now, they have me wondering if it might be Breeze. Over the last couple of years, how often have I spoken about Breeze? I hate talking about that topic unless we have official confirmation, so we can't rule this out as being a curveball. Now, could it actually just be Unique? Snaps did say earlier in the trailer that an alliance with him and Unique is the way forward. I personally don't think it's Unique. There's no reason for them to hide the fact that Unique and Kanan could shake hands and create an alliance. They've already had that meet-up in episode 9. I don't think that's something they need to keep a secret. And whoever this is, they're coming out of a red car. We know Unique rides a white Beamer. So is it time? Could it genuinely be time to introduce Breeze? It may be the last scene of episode 10 or an after-credit scene. I do think it makes sense if you're going to introduce him and pull Kanan even further away from Rock and the Thomases. I guess now would be a great time. Snaps and Pop introducing him to Breeze would also be a great way to bring him in. It also seems like this scene is quite calm, as if it's set after the storm and the chaos in Queens, as Rock and Uni are battling for the streets. Could this be the time where Breeze steps in? It does set up a blockbuster Season 5, no doubt, where he could eventually even help Kanan bring down Snaps and Pop for their betrayal and their role in Famous and Crystal's death. I do think they are setting up for the chessboard to be wiped clean in Season 5. I've mentioned this before, there's going to be a lot of big players who drop in Season 5, and if you are dropping a lot of big players, then you also have to replace them with new big players. Well, you don't get any bigger than Breeze. If you're taking a big player out but then introducing Breeze, I guess it does fill that gap. Season 5 is going to change the landscape of Queens because eventually Kanan will transition into working under Breeze. And if Season 5 is the final season, then it makes sense for them to start laying the foundation for that to happen. Even if it's not Breeze and they're just toying with us with this teaser, then whatever Sasha Penn and the writers have planned for the eventual introduction of Breeze, I trust that they'll get it right. They've given us 4 great seasons of Raising Kanan, and I personally won't have a problem waiting a bit longer if we have to. There's also another character I've kept in mind ever since Season 1, and that's Dweez's brother. I think it's always good to circle back to characters they've made reference to but haven't shown. Could it be Dweez's brother? If it is Breeze, is it Dweez's brother who's Breeze? That's a theory I've been going with for a very long time. Just like I mentioned before, if you're going into Season 5, where I believe there's going to be a cleaning of the chessboard of some big players, you have to replace these characters going into Power, Origins. And how do you do that? You can't get any bigger than Breeze, as I mentioned earlier. The floor is now yours. Please let me know your thoughts. Let me know who you think this is, what happens between Unique and Rock, Marvin under heavy gunfire, and also where they leave the story arcs for Duke, because Garcia definitely may be coming back and looking to collect that favour. And could that also play a potential role in the break between Kanan and Duke? Drop all your thoughts down below in the comments section. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.